People united in the belief that Virginia can do better, and that we will always put people first and the people of Virginia first. Because for the last 8 months in particular, we've had an attorney general who would rather do everything that Donald Trump says rather than protect Virginians. HBRS has demonstrated time and time again when the federal workforce was under attack, when Medicaid was under attack, when our K-12 funding was under attack, when our higher education institutions have been under attack. But he doesn't care. That he'd rather be Donald Trump's pro bono attorney than do his job. But I'm here to tell you, if he doesn't want to do the job, I'm ready to go. Let's go get this thing done. Because we deserve an attorney general who is going to fight for us, who is going to fight back against the chaos that we see in Washington, who's going to sue to protect our resources, to protect our funds, to protect our families, to protect our communities, to make sure that we're putting Virginia first. But I will also say to you this morning that we can't just be anti-Trump. That is not enough for people in today's world. But what you get from folks like myself and Abigail and Ghazala and every candidate for the House of Delegates is an affirmative vision of what we will do to make Virginia a better place. To make sure that we are making this a more affordable Commonwealth. And that's where I get to go after the price gougers, to go after the corporations, to make sure we're rooting out fraud, waste, and abuse, to make sure we hold our largest corporate polluters accountable, to protect our environment. To make sure that we end housing discrimination in this Commonwealth, to make sure that we protect civil rights and civil liberties, including the right to marry who you want to, and the right to make your own health care choices like you want to, because that's the Virginia that we know and love. But this is not going to be easy. The TV ads have started. The MAGA ecosystem has descended upon Virginia, because they know that if they hold on to Virginia, that's one less thorn in Donald Trump's side. But I'm here to tell you this morning, I can't wait for Donald Trump to see me across that lawsuit, Commonwealth of Virginia versus the United States of America, because that is what he and you have a major burden ahead of you, because we get to elect the first female governor in the history of this Commonwealth. And the first female lieutenant governor in the history of this Commonwealth. And the first black attorney general in the history of this Commonwealth. And I gotta tell you, I'm pretty greedy. Norfolk, Virginia, we're a little greedy. I think that we can get over 60 seats in the House of Delegates this year because of the tremendous candidates that we have who stepped up and put themselves forward and fight for their communities too. We are all in this together. And you'll hear it from me and you'll hear it from others all for the rest of these next 63 days. That the eyes of the nation are upon us. Because we get to be that first starting block, out of the starting block, to make sure that we set the tone and show this country that we are so much better than what we have seen for these last 8 months as we springboard into 2026, to go take back Congress, and then in 2028, kick Donald Trump out of the White House. And if you guys are with me, I know you are, you will make some noise, because this is it. We are in the long stretch. And I just want to say thank you for having all of our backs to make sure that we get across the finish line and get to where we need to be, because Virginia has a brighter future ahead. Now it is my honor to introduce a very dear friend of mine, someone who I met 6 years ago when she was running in a very red area to flip a seat from red to blue in the state senate. And people said, it's a tough race. You know, maybe she can't do it. Maybe she can. But I met her and I said, I think she's got what it takes. And Ghazala Hashmi flipped that seat that had been a Republican stronghold for 30 or 40 years by 10 points in 2019. So when we were in the General Assembly together, I watched her put families first, education first, fighting for people's access to health care, fighting for civil rights and civil liberties in this Commonwealth that we so hold near and dear. And man, she tells people she's a mild-mannered English professor, but I'm going to tell you guys, don't believe what she's talking about. it is my honor to introduce the next Lieutenant Governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, my friend, Ghazala Hashmi.
Good morning, Buena Vista. So wonderful to be here. So wonderful to see this full room of Democrats. And who knew that we would be doing this morning? So thank you so much. Our future Attorney General just took all my best lines, so I might as well just sit down. But I am delighted to be here, and I'm especially delighted to see my good friend, Senator Creed Dees. Thank you, Senator Dees, for your introduction. I'm gonna share a little secret about Creed that some of you may not know. We've got some interesting nicknames for Senator Dees within our caucus. But the best nickname for him is Damn Right Dees, because he tells us every day that he's damn right about everything. So we have such an amazing caucus and a lot of excellent leadership, and you know how committed Senator Dees is and all the work that he's been doing on behalf of everyone that he represents, every single constituent. So we have a lot to be proud of. I am Ghazala Hashmi, and I am your nominee for Lieutenant Governor. Let's go. I want to share a little bit about myself. As Delegate Jones shared, I was a mild-mannered English teacher. I am a mild-mannered English teacher. Everybody that sees me, knows me, says she's so mild-mannered, she's so quiet. So that is my reputation. Actually, I spent almost 30 years in the college classroom teaching American literature. That was my passion. I taught the foundational text of our American democracy. I talked about the Constitution, the Federalist Papers. I taught the philosophy of Ralph Waldo Emerson, the poetry of Walt Whitman, the essays of Henry David Thoreau. That was my foundation, my understanding of who and what we are as Americans and what this nation is all about. I never thought that I would be leading the classroom because that was my passion. But in 2016, as we all know, something happened. Something happened that disrupted our sense of this identity as Americans, something that challenged the very bedrock of our foundations. The election of Donald Trump was, to me, the antithesis. It was the antithesis, not the synthesis, of everything that I have worked so hard to share with my students about what this fundamental experimented democracy is. And at that moment, when I felt like my world was shattered, I knew I had to do something. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do, but in 2019, there was an opportunity to take a look at that Senate seat that had been in the Richmond area, had been in Republican hands for almost 4 decades. And I said, maybe I ought to run for that seat. And a lot of people close to me, a lot of my fellow Democrats said, Ghazala, maybe don't do it right now. They said, you never run for a political office before. That's a lot to take on. And then they said, you're an immigrant. I was born in India. They said, you're an immigrant and you are a Muslim. And people in Richmond are not ready for someone like you. But you know what I said to them? I said, I'm a mild-mannered English teacher. There are things that mild-mannered English teachers like to do, and we're going to take on this challenge. It's we who are the English teachers who are teaching the books that other people are trying to ban. We know things to do about these challenges. So not only, as Delegate Jones shared, not only did I win that competitive primary, went on to win that election, but we flipped that seat by 10 points. Virginia into the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. We worked hard to put in protections for education, and we passed the Reproductive Health Care Act that continues to protect Virginia. It's not longer these countries in the South of Virginia. This is the work that Democrats do. This is the passion that we have. This is what we're able to accomplish when we work together. And so now in 23, when we saw, in 24, when we saw the election again of Donald Trump, we know it is even worse now. And Delegate Jones said it best, we're not running against Donald Trump, we're running for something, we're running for the values that we espouse here in Virginia. We're working to make sure that every Virginian has an opportunity, that there are opportunities for affordable housing, for good jobs, for an education that reaches every child with the depth of the quality that every child in Virginia deserves. We're working for health care to make sure that our seniors and our most vulnerable citizens are not left unprotected. We are fighting for Virginia, and if Donald Trump is in our way, we're going to just steamroll right over him because that's what Virginia is. I shared with you that I am a mild-mannered English teacher. But if there's one thing that you might know about your favorite English teacher, is that we absolutely love grammar. We love parts of speech. And I in particular, I'm really, really fond of pronouns. And everywhere I go, I want to remind everybody that there is just one pronoun that is so important, and it is the most inclusive pronoun that we have in the English language. And in fact, it is the most inclusive and most important word because it is the first word of our American Constitution. And it is our word we as in we the people. And one thing we know is we the people of Virginia are stronger together. We the people of Virginia are bolder together. We the people of Virginia are resilient together. And we the people of Virginia are taking the road in 2025. Let's go do this, Virginia! Now, it is my incredible honor to introduce someone who needs no introduction, but someone who has, as Senator Reid said, dedicated her entire professional life to the service of the communities of the country that she loves. We are so honored that she is running to be our governor, that she is going to chart this course with everyone's help to ensure that we continue to move Virginia forward. Let's give a warm welcome to the first woman governor of Virginia, Abigail Spanberger. Good morning, everyone.
Thank you for welcoming us. Ron, thank you for welcoming us and for getting us excited about this election, about what is to come when early voting starts on September 19th and the work that we are going to do between now and November 4th. Senator Deeds, thank you for always being an incredible supporter of candidates who are running, but most importantly, by modeling how much you care about the communities that you serve. It's an exciting time in Virginia. Certainly, Jake Jones made the somewhat sassy comment about how we like being together as a ticket, which is incidentally a bit of a contrast from what we've seen on the other side of the aisle. But it's true. Because when you get to spend time traveling across Virginia with people who believe in the possibility of our communities, who believe that it is through service and through strong representation and through thoughtful leadership and digging deep into the weeds of legislation and policy, and in our ability to use the law to help people and make our community stronger, boy, that is the best type of fun for my book. And we are campaigning across Virginia because we know that this year we get to show the rest of the country and the world what is possible. And we get to show our fellow Virginians that no matter the community they live in, there is a choice for them to vote for people up and down the ballot who are dedicated to them, people who want to bring their voices to Richmond, people who want to serve with a focus on how will my choices, whether it's the bills I sign, the legal cases brought, or the work done in the General Assembly, how will our work impact communities across our Commonwealth? And there are challenges at this moment everywhere we go, and we hear about the issues of affordability and housing and healthcare and energy costs. We hear from parents, as I am, I have 3 daughters in Virginia public schools, concerns about the future of our kids and the strength of our education system and our public schools. And we know that Virginia can and must be the most incredible state in the entire country when it comes to being a place where we know our kids at every level will get a quality education and be set up for success on the path of their choice in the future. Because that is how we continue to build a Virginia that is strong economically, that is strong in community, and frankly, a Virginia that is able to weather the storm of the chaos that comes out of Washington. Now, I know, I'm shuddering right now. I first ran for Congress because of chaos at the federal level. Back in 2014, I had moved back home to Virginia. I had pursued a career in public service, first as a federal agent working narcotics and money laundering cases, and then as a CIA officer. I worked undercover my whole time at the agency, focused on counterterrorism cases. My whole job was to keep our country safe. My whole job was to ensure that somebody somewhere was making good, informed decisions with the information I was collecting. I believed in it. It was a mission that drove me. And back in 2014, we were bidding on our next assignment. We were living on the West Coast after having spent time overseas, and my husband Adam and I pulled out a globe, and we were with our oldest daughter. She was in kindergarten at the time. We said, where should we go? Kenya, England, Costa Rica? What post should we bid on? And my daughter said, Virginia. We should go to Virginia. And we said, no, with Mommy's job, we're not going to Virginia. And she said, well, why not? Everyone we love lives in Virginia. We should go to Virginia. And we started thinking about what it is that we wanted long term. I loved the mission of the work that I was doing. But we thought, where do we want to be in the next 5 or 10 years? Maybe it's time to pivot from service to country that took us all over the world to service to community that would bring us right back home. So we moved back home to Virginia. I got a job in the private sector. I got my employment declassified. I started a Girl Scout troop, started volunteering with Moms Stand Action, and I thought I would be a splendid mom. I failed miraculously at that intention. But what I found was as our communities were facing the division and the challenges that came out of that 2016 election, service to community might mean going back to service to country. And so it was in that uneasy time, that chaotic time, that time of division and confusion after that 2016 election, that I decided to run for Congress in a district that hadn't elected a Democrat since 1968, and in a district that my predecessor had won by 15 points. But I believed, as Ghazala did, and she then ran to flip her seat, that if we brought people together, focused on what does it look like to have accountable leadership? What does it look like to have someone say, I'm a Democrat, but you do not have to be to vote for me? What does it look like to have someone say, I am going to work for everyone you serve?
And that's how we built out a coalition. And we flipped that seat 17 points. And that is a message to all of our candidates who are running in tough seats. And that is a message, quite frankly, more importantly for everyone else in the room. When we come together and we believe in people who are putting themselves forward, who say, you know, I want to be the voice of my community. And when we make people realize that those numbers, they need to add up and down the ballot, we can make an impact. We will flip seats in the House of Delegates because we have incredible people who are focused on our communities who are running. And they will make an impact in the General Assembly by bringing the voices of so many different communities from across Virginia. In fact, we have 100 Democrats running in 100 seats. And if you're like me, you're thinking, what's it like on the other side? What's that? It's 83. They have 83 running. So if you want to know where the excitement is, the urgency is, it is on our side of the aisle. Because in Virginia, we have real challenges. And we need thoughtful, focused people in the General Assembly, in the role of Lieutenant Governor, in the role of Governor, and in the Attorney General's office, focused on doing right by Virginia and standing up for Virginia. But we also have an opportunity to send a message to the rest of the country because in 2025, it is just Virginia and New Jersey that have statewide races. And if anyone in here watched the Supreme Court race out in Wisconsin a couple of months back, you bet your bottom dollar that the rest of the country is going to watch what we are doing this November. And we become the precursor for what happens in 2026. I was elected to Congress in 2018, and as I was running around campaigning, I said, did you see what we did in Virginia in 2017? We won so many seats, we got so close to the majority in the House of Delegates, and it was part of what I knew and believed that I could fill my seat. And then when I got to Capitol Hill, and I was talking to people, I said, in Virginia, we did incredible in 2017, really moving forward. And my colleagues who were also elected, we said, yeah, we know. We were talking about Virginia when people thought my district in Texas was minimal. I said, look what they did in Virginia. Another colleague, well, when they said that they didn't think my district in Minnesota, my district in Florida, or New York, or Iowa, when they thought they weren't winnable, we all pointed to what you all had done in Virginia. And so this year, yes, we want to serve Virginia. We are running to serve the Commonwealth that we love. But we also get to send a decisive, clear message to the rest of the country and the world about who we are in Virginia, and we're given the opportunity to stand up for our communities, and in the face of the chaos and the division coming from the Trump administration, we will do it, and we get to set in motion. We get to set in motion the tide turning across the country. So it is a tremendous responsibility, and I know in Virginia we say we have elections every year, and in that we're excited, but we're also exhausted. This year we are lucky because when the rest of the country watches the news and feels anxiety, those challenges, we are the ones who get to go to the ballot box and stand up and demonstrate with great clarity who we are. So it is because of you all, it is because of every person who puts time towards volunteering on campaigns, at the polls, ensuring that people make it out to vote and that they vote up and down the ballot, or from the ballot bottom all the way up. This is why it matters to have so many incredible people running in every portion of Virginia. And so we are going to send an incredible message to the rest of the country. And importantly, come January, we will show them how it is done when we actually start governing. So thank you for all the ways that you're doing. We are going to win because they're really good.
there you have it. That's the story. That's the task. I ran for the House of Delegates twice, lost both times. My opponent was a fellow who was the longest serving delegate.